Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob, where I shake my brain nipples every day to get some of that dirty YouTube money so I can afford to provide you folks in-person, hands-on technology education in Durham, North Carolina. Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com. We're doing a class on AI and SQL coming up on Wednesday, a couple of days from now. We're doing a class on AI and web scraping coming up on November 19th. We're going to be doing AI at the edge with Raspberry Pi coming up, and AI with REST APIs. That'll be coming up in another few weeks. If you're interested in those, take a look at silicondojo.com to look at what our schedule is and to sign up for a class. Do remember, free to the end user is not actually free. There's a little donor box link down below if you'd like to throw a couple of dollars in there. That would be ever so lovely. And so here's an interesting question. Right? One of the things that we hear right now is that the price for NVIDIA has to go through the roof. It has to go well past $5 trillion. Because the demand for NVIDIA GPUs is so high. But here's an interesting question. What if the utilization of said GPUs is nowhere near as high? Until I saw this particular article, it's one of those things I hadn't really thought about, right? I have been snarky about AI in so many different ways. And this was a way I just wasn't even considering. One of the things you have to think about in the Silicon Valley world, in the big tech world, is that they have so much money. Many times they pay for things simply to take them off the board so that other people cannot use them, right? I've talked about this before. Why so many people are getting laid off now, why they got hired before and why they're getting laid off now, is that before, big tech companies were literally hiring people just to take them the hell off the board, right? This is obvious. We've talked about this a lot in the past, and it's one of the reasons that tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of tech workers are basically getting the boot now, because the reality of the matter was they got hired for their ass, right? They had seats, they needed asses in seats, that's why people got hired. They may have been through a boot camp and they may have had a degree, but no, they were getting hired for their booty. And now, their booty's a little older. It's kind of like one of those go-go girls, you know, when they hit about 40. It's like, it's just not kind of the butt we want anymore. So they're getting kicked out because Silicon Valley does not care. That is not the competitive advantage. So one of the interesting things to think about, like when you hear about all these AI build-outs, what if big tech companies are buying hardware just so the other big tech companies can't get their hands on the hardware? And how much stupider does that make this particular bubble? And it looks like the CEO, Satya Nadella, has come out and has admitted that for the world to hear. So yeah, it's not whether you're paranoid. It's whether you're paranoid enough. It's not whether you're snarky. It's whether you're snarky enough. Right? I think about this. Right? I always bring that up with my mom. Right? My mom was a horrible alcoholic. I ended up having to disown her at one point. And I always wondered how bad it was gonna go. Right? And then I could never fathom how bad it actually got. Like, I was not creative enough to see her dying in her own crap. Right? It was just like all of the pessimistic things that I had going on in my head. And then I'm sitting there mopping her literal crap off of the floor, going, wow, yeah, even I'm not that particularly pessimistic. And that's when we talk about the AI bubble popping. I fear this may be an alcoholic mother moment where, I've been snarky and I've been mean and I've been a realist, but maybe I have not been creative enough with the stupidity that will unfold. Microsoft CEO doesn't want to buy NVIDIA's AI GPUs, quote, beyond one generation, hints at a compute glut driven by energy constraints. It's one of the things we talk about with systems, right? You always have a bottleneck in the system. So we talk about computers, right? There's the front side bus speed, there's the platter speed, there's RAM speed, there's size, all of that kind of thing, right? If you have one poor performing component in your computer, no matter how good all the other components are, frankly, it just really doesn't matter. The same thing is true when you go out and you build out infrastructure, right? You can have the most amazing amazing AI data center in the world. But if it's connected to the world by a literal 1.544 T1 connection, it's probably not going to be that valuable. And so one of the big issues that's going on right now is one of the questions of electricity, right? Before we get to the argument of whether AI is valuable or how valuable it is or how much it's needed or any of that kind of crap. One of the big things is when they go to deploy it, right? Electricity really is becoming a bottleneck in the United States. And one of the interesting things that comes up here is the whole idea that there's literally not enough electricity to drive the GPUs that are already being produced, right? We see this with Musk, Elon Musk with his Memphis data center, put in something like 18 gas electric generators in order to power that particular data center in Memphis, even though, I mean, it's connected to the electric grid, but they needed all of that additional power. Well, think about that on scale, right? You look at Elon Musk and you look at Memphis and you go, okay, but remember all these other companies, right? It's not just xAI, right? It's OpenAI. It's Meta. Meta wants to build a data center the size of Manhattan, right? And so here's one of the big questions. What if literally Silicon Valley doing what Silicon Valley always does is simply over purchasing resources it has no capacity to actually use because they're either trying to hoard it for themselves or try to keep other people from getting access to it? How Lordy, how dumb does that make this particular AI bubble? Microsoft's Satya Nadella has revealed the situation regarding the firm's AI GPU arsenal, claiming that there isn't enough space or energy available to bring additional compute power on board. The other thing is to be thinking about is with these data centers. Like one of the things we hear about is all the data centers that will be built out. But as I've talked about many times for many different topics, it takes a little bit of time to build out something. Like, you know, if you say, hey, there's going to be 100% tariffs at the end of the month, you actually need longer than a month to build warehouses and factories. It's true. It's shocking to say, but it takes longer to build a factory than it does to add a bathroom to your house. I know. Some people can't seem to grasp that concept, right? And so that's one of the interesting things too, right? They talk about what will be built. At the exact same time, so many GPUs are coming out. Again, we talk about with GPUs, right? It's not just NVIDIA anymore. It's NVIDIA putting out the GPUs. It's AMD putting out the GPUs. It's Broadcom trying to put out the GPUs. It's Google with their TPUs, their tensor processing units. Those are coming out. The ASICs for Grok and other companies. The other Grok, not that Grok, right? There's all of these people like just investing a tremendous amount in hardware, right? Computer hardware. But at the end of the day, data centers are in fact not built on Node.js. They're not built on Cat6 cable. They are not built on Intel or AMD processors. They are actually in fact built with cement and a metric crap ton of steel that I do believe still has a 25% tariff on it. Just gonna put that one on the table too. So again, it's an interesting question. What if Silicon Valley now is over investing, buying resources it does not have the capability to use? Oh, lordy. Recently, a thesis has emerged suggesting that NVIDIA and the AI industry will ultimately reach a point where there's excess computing, or the per unit compute achievements gained by employing AI chips won't be sustainable for big tech. Commenting on NVIDIA CEOs mentioning about excess compute being, quote, non-existent, and that's one of the interesting things with this, is like you'll hear different CEOs argue things from different ways. So NVIDIA is like, no, excess compute, that's not gonna happen for a long time. As the people that are buying the compute are like, yeah, we got enough. I don't know. All I can say is I have enough. For the next 2 or 3 years, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella believes that the industry is currently facing a, quote, power glut, which leads to AI chips sitting in inventory that cannot be plugged in, so basically another form of compute glut. Quote, even the point is, what's the secular trend? The secular trend is what Sam said, which is at the end of the day, because quite frankly, the biggest issue we are now having is not compute glut, but it's power. So if you can't do that, you may actually have a bunch of chips sitting in inventory that I cannot plug in. The CEO of Microsoft is talking about chips in inventory that he doesn't have the ability to plug in. In fact, that is my problem today, right? It's not a supply issue of chips. It's actually the fact that I don't have warm shells to plug into. That's what's going on now, right? We've heard OpenAI currently just got their $500 billion valuation, right? They're going to IPO in 2026 or 2027 for $1 trillion valuation. We've seen NVIDIA skyrocket past $5 trillion. And we have the CEO for Microsoft saying, yeah, no, I've got chips. I don't have anything to plug them into. Do you start to understand why I see problems in this particular tech cycle? It's clear that the race for a compute build-out has reached a point where companies like Microsoft cannot accommodate additional chips in their respective configurations. The underlying reason why NVIDIA mentions a power glut is that with each generation, NVIDIA's rack scale configurations have brought in massive power requirements to such an extent that from Ampere to next-gen Kyber rack design, rack TDPs are expected to increase by 100 times. So the power needed to run these NVIDIA type systems is going up by 100x. At the exact same time, there's not enough electricity to run the systems that currently exist, and so Silicon Valley is buying hardware to put on a shelf. And then NVIDIA is doing so well because so much hardware is being purchased that they are then giving loans and investing in other companies to buy hardware that cannot be slotted into anything, which then improves their stock price. And yeah, this is what they call in the military a good old-fashioned goat screw. This is a goat screw. You don't know how it's gonna go bad. You don't know how ugly the end results will be. But you know it's gonna go bad and it's gonna get ugly. So yeah, I don't know. This is one of those things that just hadn't crossed my mind. Because so many times, like when we talk about this, when we talk about resources, especially, I'm not building data centers, right? I do Silicon Dojo. I teach little AI classes using fucking SQLite. So I'm not like in this world, right? So when I'm reading the news, more or less, it seems like it goes together. It's like, okay, they're bringing these nuclear power plants online. Whether I like it or not, that's what they're doing. And by those nuclear power plants, they're building these data centers. Like it or not, okay, that's what they're doing. And for these data centers, they're buying all these GPUs. Right, so when you're just sitting there, you're grabbing your cup of coffee in the morning, you're scrolling through with a little fucking chihuahua on your lap. Right, that seems fine. Again, fucking stupid. It's fine stupid, though. Like, I disagree with what they're doing, but from a workflow, from a logistics standpoint, I'm like, okay. Like I don't like what you're doing, but yeah, it seems to make sense. But you don't realize, like, all of these things aren't necessarily happening in tandem, right? These things are occurring, but they might be occurring in such ways that there are massive imbalances, and you don't necessarily see what those massive imbalances are. I mean, think about this for a second. We've already talked about the stupidity with OpenAI. So NVIDIA, did they do a loan? Anyways, NVIDIA basically provided OpenAI $100 billion just to buy NVIDIA hardware. Like literally, right? And we already talked about that stupidness, right? That's just all kinds of stupid. But then really think about this for a second. Think about how many companies NVIDIA is now backstopping. Think about how many companies NVIDIA is now propping up because of their share price. And basically those companies, quid pro quo, which again, I get, stupid, but I get it, is hey, if we're gonna prop you up, then you need to buy more of our hardware, right? And so what that does is that shows that NVIDIA is growing, right? NVIDIA pumps the money in, they buy the hardware, but here's the thing. If we are not tracking from when hardware gets produced to the point when hardware is actually providing solutions to end users, what happens if these companies are being handed money by NVIDIA to buy more NVIDIA hardware so that NVIDIA hardware can go into somebody else's warehouse and sit there and collect dust? What? Oh, Lordy, what? What? Oh. I have warned you, 2026 is going to be so much worse. Right? I mean, I have put it on the table that if you thought 2025 was bad, 26 is going to make 25 look like a fucking communist utopia. So anyways, what do you think about this? Did this ever cross your mind? Would you have ever considered, right, that Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, quote, would say today, so if you can't do that, you may actually have a bunch of chips sitting in inventory that I cannot plug in. In fact, that is my problem today. Was that a quote that you were expecting to hear? Put your thoughts down below. If you like these videos, give us a thumbs up. If you hate these videos, give us a thumbs down. Call me amazing, call me a moron. Just be a real Lutnick and do it down there in the comment section. Do you remember what I care most about is Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com, free to end user hands-on technology education that empowers you to do whatever the hell it is you want to do. You just come, you learn, you go the hell away, and you build something, right? Durham, North Carolina. We have a class coming up on AI and SQL in a couple of days. We have a class coming up on AI and web scraping on November 19th. We're going to have a class on AI at the edge with Raspberry Pi coming up in December, and a class on, AI with REST APIs to bring in intelligence from the outside world. That'll be coming up in a few weeks. If you're interested in those, take a look at silicondojo.com. Do remember, free to the end user is not actually free. There's a donor box link down below. With that, I'll see y'all later.